And I'm okay. It really wasn't that big of a deal, but poor hockey. Um, you're probably wondering what I'm beating to death and now attempting to shove through my front door, as I'm sure the neighbors are probably trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing too. Um, Originally, what has been up in our front room now for like just a couple of years after we moved in is these series of hutches I built with the idea of raising rabbits up here, which was a horrible idea. Raising the rabbits was a fine idea, actually. I raised them for quite a few years. Was actually having the hutches up here was a really, really bad idea. I had fun building them. It was made out of almost entirely scrap materials, except the wire mesh and the tarps. But we ended up buying these industrial style hutches, and I cut that hole in there so you could put like a water hopper in there when we're gone, so they have plenty of water. Yeah, the piece I'm tearing apart now was like the little cabin area for the moms to keep the kits. And from what I remember, we did have a couple of litters up there, and it worked out okay. But once again, everybody stayed inside the cabin all the time, so things were getting kind of gross. You can see from the staining. That's also when I started to realize that the material choices for inside hutches was a bad idea. So I wouldn't recommend building hutches like this for an indoor setup. Outside, if you want to put like a canopy over everybody, it should be fine. The materials will break down over time, but once again, I built it all for free. This is one of the many distractions in my life, cats. And yeah, like I said, the little guy's eating peanuts. He's not even my cat. I'm not even sure whose neighbor's cat this is, because he's got those toes. I call him Lobster. He's adorable. But I should get back to work. It's interesting because hey, I built this a long time ago, and when I build stuff, I have a design in mind, but ever since I have certain materials to work with, it has to change kind of on the fly, and you kind of forget how it was built. So instead of like knowing how to completely disassemble it in the proper manner, it's just pound things out that you can and unscrew the rest, which sounds kind of naughty now that I say it out loud. I have to say, I don't know if it was as much fun putting them in as it was taking these hutches out. Uh, Not so much the fact that I get to beat things to death with a hammer. Really, also the satisfaction of finally getting all this stuff out of the way and making this space a much more usable, functional space. And I also kind of think about all the fun I had actually building it too when I was trying to figure out how the hell I did build it so I could rip it apart. And who doesn't like to beat things to death with a hammer? And as much fun as it is to kind of watch me rip this thing apart, I think this may have ran its course for the day. For those that have been watching the last few episodes, you probably noticed that the weather looks much different. This was actually shot in early October. Check on my chickens. I hear them getting all cackled up. I have a feeling it might be one of the neighbors. Lobster. Looking around, I don't notice any of the neighborhood cats or anything. Just Marshmallow being Marshmallow. Those that have chickens know sometimes, especially in the summer, they'll just go nuts for like 20 minutes. I have a wide angle lens now because now I have a GoPro. It's like the second day I have it when shooting this. I still at this time know next to nothing about it. The office isn't really done, but I got a bunch of other things to figure out, like what kind of gear I want to pack up, and then figure out how to pack it in a canoe, and then pack all that gear into a car, and then on that car figure out what kind of straps and whatnot I want to use on this new roof rack setup to secure a canoe properly to it. So that way I can go on a proper adventure with a good friend of mine and sometimes coworker, Alex, seen here nervously petting my two dogs. He's a good guy, but he's never went canoe camping before, and I don't think he's ever went camping this late season either. But it'll be like the 1st of November, so the weather shouldn't be too bad. If you have more interest in how this went, please check out the links in the description below. It's kind of like a three-part adventure. In short, I believe that we both had a blast because I know at least I did. So now the last kind of thing I want to do in here is tack up this old material I got from when I was working at the 360. I use it for like backdrops and stuff. I only used it like 2 or 3 times. So now it's finally got a purpose, which is to create some kind of sound deadening up here. Because it won't really be soundproof, but it will definitely create a better sound up here for recording than not having it up. Just a small space with like painted walls, it kind of sound like recording in a bathroom. Actually, I never mentioned before that I also built the door and the floor up there too, just out of cheap pine 1x4s and 1x2s. The door actually also has a foam core as well as another outside panel that's pretty much what you're seeing from the back panel too. And I'm sorry if the last bit of the scene here is a little boring. I'm kind of just put all this together so I could have fun with the two cameras that I've got now that kind of shoot in a similar quality. So now it's just this last little tidbit of me tacking this up so I have an excuse to walk out of the room to make the scene have some sense of purpose. But that's it. I've got an office now, a place where I can plan my next adventures and then edit them. And Stubby here can work on a hairball. Please like and subscribe. You can find me on MeWe, where you could ask me questions and comments out there if you don't want to leave comments here. Until then, thank you all so much, and take care out there.